Hi there guys, in this video I'm going to really push your knowledge of linear graphs. So before we get started, you need to remember a few things. All equations of straight lines are written in this format, y equals mx plus c. Now y and x, that's pretty obvious, that's these two things here, the two variables. Now the m and the c, when they change, graphs change, and you need to know the m is the gradient, that changes the steepness, so higher number, the steeper. If it's a negative, it goes the other way, it comes down the ramp. And the c part, the number on its own without the x, is where it crosses the y-axis, like here and here, for example. So you need to know that bit of information. So over the next slides and the exercise today, I'm going to give you a line. For example, this one here is y equals x plus 1. And what is a possible equation? Look at the words, possible equation for the other line. Now, when I look at the other line, I think, well, it's definitely got a different y-intercept, so this must be 1. So let's have a think. Right, if that distance there's 1, I'm going to go with 4. If you went 5, that'd be fine. Even if you went 6, if you went 3, yeah, you're pushing it. 2, I'd say no, it's obviously not 2. I'm going to go with 4. And when I look at that, I say, well, it's the same direction. So, okay, that's going to have the same, it's going to be a positive gradient. And actually, it's parallel. So I'm going to say this one is y equals x plus 4. So remember, there's a 1 here if you wanted to put those in. So I've kept them the same because they are parallel and they're going in exactly the same direction. I've just had to change the y-intercept. Look at this one. So this time it's a different original. It's y equals 2x plus 1. And what do I notice? Well, I see that they both cross the y-axis exactly the same point. So if this is a 1 here, that means that is a 1 there. So when I form an equation for this new one, I'm not too sure what this bit is at this moment in time. It's definitely going to be plus 1. Let's investigate a little bit further. Let's pop an x there as well, because it's going to have an x. Now, what do you see? What do you notice? Well, this new line is steeper. So all I've got to do is make sure I use a bigger number than the 2. So if I go for 3, that's fine. 4, that's fine. I won't push it. I won't go any higher than 3 or 4. So I'm going to just go for 3. Just say, oh, look, it's steeper. I'm going to make it a bit steeper. Make sure I keep the y-intercept the same. So hopefully this is making loads of sense. So just have a little think about this one. Okay, so we've got this equation, y equals x plus 3. So it's a weird looking drawing, a scale, you might think, well, that's a 1. How can that be a 3? Well, there's no numbers on here, so it can be whatever I want it to be. And I chose 3 because I can. Now, this line is crossing at exactly the same point, so I know the y-intercept is 3, but this line actually doesn't have a gradient at all. So if you think about a ramp, this would be the world's worst ramp. There isn't a ramp, it's just flat. And flat lines across the y-axis are always called y equals and then a number. In this case, y is 3 because every single coordinate, like 0, 3, let's say this one would be 5, 3 for argument's sake if we're trying to keep the scales consistent. This could be 10, 3, 11, 3, 12, 3, 6, 3, 1, 3. The y is always 3. So if you see a line with 0 gradient, then it's just a y equals. Okay, let's keep going. This one, the original is y equals 3x plus 2, so let's just mark the y-intercept, good habit to get into. And I can see actually this new one, I'm going to write it down here, is also plus 2. Now, what else do I notice? Well, it's going the other way, so it's definitely going to be a minus. And if I look at this distance here, it looks about the same. I'd say these graphs are as steep as each other, So if this is a 3, I'm going to keep this as a 3 as well. If this line was steeper, I'd go for a 4. If it was less steep, I might go for a 2. Just change the number, but I've got to pop the minus in there to get the other direction. Okay, so getting a little bit harder now. So more than one thing is changing. So here's our original, 2x plus 1. You've seen this one before. Let's pop a 1 on here. Let's start looking at this distance. All right, that looks like the same distance to me. So I'm going to put that as a minus 1. So this new line here I'm going to say this is y equals something minus 1. And it's absolutely fine to start with a y-intercept, or you can start with a gradient if you wish. Now let's compare the angle of the two lines. So this new one is definitely steeper. So I'm just going to go for 3x minus 1. The 3 again is positive. They're both going up the ramp, so let's keep them positive. I could have gone for 4. Could I have gone for minus 2 at the end? Maybe. That'd be nice, but don't go to minus 3 or something ridiculous like that. So always compare the distances, compare the steepness, and just change it subtly. Okay, so now there's 3 lines. So we're starting with this one. So what do we know? The y-intercept's 1, so let's put 1 there. Okay, so this line here is also a y-intercept of 1, so let's put a plus 1. Looks about the same steepness. Let's compare these distances. Yeah, about the same steepness. So this has a gradient of 1. So this is also going to be a gradient of 1, but it's going the other way. So let's put minus in front of it. Now this line here is a y equals n number because there's no gradient, there's no ramp to it at all. If that is a 1, this distance here, how big is this total distance here? Well, I'm going to go for 3. So I'm going to say that is y equals 3. Could have gone y equals 2. I don't like 2. 2 is about here, right? So y equals 3 is the most sensible guess you could go for. Okay, I didn't put a label on this one, so I'm going to just make sure it's this one here. So y equals 3 minus 2x. Okay, I'm going to deal with this one first. The reason is it looks parallel. Now, we're not used to always seeing graphs written like this. I could write this as y equals minus 2x plus 3. You'd probably be happier writing it in the form y equals mx plus c. The only reason we do this is it looks prettier. So because this is parallel, it's going to have the same gradient. So I'm going to go for minus 2x, gradient being minus 2. Now, this must be 3 because of the y-intercept. So if that's 3, I'm going to go for a minus 1 down here. So I'm going to go for minus 2x minus 1. I'm really happy with that. What about this one? This is now positive, so I don't need to worry about a negative in front of the x. Actually, look, so much tighter to the y-axis. It's definitely steeper. If you were skiing down this one, you'd be fearing for your life. It's very, very steep indeed. So we had a 2 as the steepness rating. Let's go for a 3. Do you know what? I might go for a 4 because it just looks a little bit steeper. And it's actually got the same y-intercept, so I have to choose the same number as I did for this one. I can't change this number now because they're crossing at exactly the same point. Okay, so this is the last slide before you have a go at this on your own. And we're going to start with y equals 2x plus 1, and we have to draw on, let's just start with this one first, 2x minus 2. So you can notice the gradients are staying the same. So that means it's going to be parallel, the y-intercept's changing. So if that's a 1, I'm going to go for, that could be a minus 1, I'm going to go for minus 2 there. Do my best here to draw a parallel line. That looks pretty good. And just because I made that mark, I'm just going to move it up. I'm going to label this one y equals 2x minus 2. So 3x plus 1. So this actually has the same y-intercept as the one we were given in the question. It just has to be steep. So I'm going to go for that. So I've just made it steeper. I've drawn it all the way along my graph. So I'm going to go for y equals 3x plus 1 here. Okay, this has got the same y-intercept as the first one I drew. So we're going to make sure we're going through this line here. It actually has the same steepness, just a different gradient. It's going the other way now. So same steepness, but the other way. So it'd be quite hard to draw. So I might tweak this in a minute. But I'm quite happy with that actually. Looks around the same steepness as this one here. Good to go, and it's going through the y-intercept. So y equals minus 2x minus 2 is there. Okay. Hope you've understood that. This exercise really pushes your knowledge of straight line graphs. I hope you're feeling confident. Best of luck.